Hi there, Nancy Mueller here. Welcome to another Life is All About Choices. I have another wonderful guest for you this week. I know I say it every week, but come on, that's because I find awesome people. The universe just keeps bringing them into my life, and there is another one here today. So we're going to talk today about caregivers for veterans. And if you're thinking, that doesn't sound like a subject I really want to listen to, I beg to differ with you because first of all, Marjorie is going to blow your socks off. She's got an amazing, amazing story, and she's here to share it with you. Marjorie, welcome.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I am really excited you're here. So, Marjorie, tell us who you are, what you do, and why you're so fabulous.
All right. So, I am the wife of a combat wounded veteran. My husband was injured back in 2006 from an IED when he was serving in Iraq on his third deployment. Matthew was severely injured. He has a below the knee amputation on his left side. Matthew has a limb salvage on the right. He suffers from PTSD, and he also has a traumatic brain injury. Matthew and I have been down a pretty long journey. And through that journey, I have found my passion, and my passion is to help my community, which is the veteran caregiver community. So I've been in the nonprofit sector probably for veterans about the last 11 years, quite some time now. My passion is to help them. Through the CODA Support Foundation, I am a case coordinator. So in the terms of case management, finding those resources, connecting the families to those resources, and getting them the help that they need. And then on my other side, I am a Elizabeth Dole Fellow. With the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, I try to increase support for military veteran caregivers like myself. I also advocate on issues nationally and locally. I provide advice to the foundation on programs that are out there for caregivers. I also provide inspirational and positive support to my peer caregivers. The Hidden Heroes movement is amazing. And I would highly encourage people to go to hiddenheroes.org and really research what the Elizabeth Dole Foundation is doing to support our military veteran caregivers. That's one of my big passions, is to be able to just to help out other caregivers, because we, lead such a interesting dynamic of a life.
Yes.
None of us, I don't think, wake up every day saying, oh, we're going to be a caregiver. That's not like I think anyone's passion in life is to be a caregiver. But we get into these roles and we are very passionate about it, and we put all of our heart and soul, and we are very selfless.
And I think for most people, when we think of caregiver, we think of, when we're elderly and one of us is caring for our elderly spouse or our elderly parent. That's usually what we think of when we think of caregiver. But and I just think that people didn't talk about it very much before, but caregiver is about anyone that you are taking care of. And I know that when you are in a specific vibration with the universe, the universe just brings you everybody that you need. And I shared with you that my brother was in the Army, and he was in a motorcycle accident, and he has severe traumatic brain injury. And you and I talked about that. And people don't think about my sister-in-law and the fact that she's only been married for about 10 years to him, and they were 4 years into it when he had the accident. So now she's married, but basically alone. And this makes her, life very different from the one that she thought was going to be when she said, I do. So when we think of caregiver, it's so broad. And that's why these types of conversations are so important, because what we're doing is we're giving people the opportunity to think outside of the box, think outside of, what your definition of caregiver is, because the English language is so wonderful, but one word can mean many things, or one word can have many nuances, or people innately think about that one word, however it affects them or doesn't affect them. So, the fact that you are sharing this information from your heart. I know you have a beautiful book. I want to talk about that as well. Your story, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind just to go back a little bit before that, because your story is more than just what you shared, which is what makes you so fabulous at the work that you're doing right now.
Yeah, so my story, to get a little bit more into depth, when my husband was injured, at that moment when he was injured, when he was in transition, I really didn't realize that my life was going to really change. I knew it was changing, but I wasn't aware that I was going to become a full-time caregiver. Until that moment, I showed up at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, and I had actually seen my husband, which was a beautiful sight. It was wonderful, but however, very scary. Because my husband was hooked up to a lot of machines. He was getting blood transfusions because he lost 6 pints of blood. He had a cast on one leg with all this metal stuff hanging out, and his other leg, it was clear to me, it was gone.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know about the mental health side of it. That really did not come home until we actually came home. And my husband was very sad, very, very sad. The demons inside of him were so horrible that he was trying to self-medicate. And for me, I didn't understand it because no one told me, hey, this is what PTSD is. This is, could possibly happen. I had no idea. So I went through this blindly and searching for help. I went to the VA. I went to, my parents and anyone just to try to help me understand what's going on. And unfortunately, I was not educated. So on September 16th of 2007, my husband self-medicated. And I remember hanging on to the door and begging him, please don't leave. Don't leave me. Stay here. We can work through this. And he said, no, I can't do this anymore. And he sped off in the vehicle. And for me, I first got on the phone, called 911, explained the situation, explained, my husband was a veteran. He was wounded, going through some really serious stuff. The sheriff's department was amazing to me. They were a blessing in disguise because they stayed on the phone with me and we kept communication. And unfortunately, my husband drove his car at a high rate of speed into a brick wall to end his life. However, his journey was not done. It was not done. His life was saved again. And thankfully it was. And at that moment, I knew there was something I had to do. I had to get my husband the help he needed. So I packed us up after talking to my parents, talking to his dad, praying with his dad. And I knew just moving somewhere else to get better medical care had to be the answer. And luckily it was. We moved to Texas, where he's from. His dad helped out. We got Matthew the care he needed, started weeding him off all of these medications that were playing with his TBI and his PTSD. It didn't fully solve the problem, but it was a huge step into the right direction. And from that moment, we struggled still a bit in Texas. My husband was not fully able to conquer those demons that he was struggling with. And unfortunately, while we were in Texas, my brother went missing. And my parents were devastated. They didn't know where he was. So me being who I am, I took the lead on it. And I started searching for my brother. I told my husband, I said, I have to leave you. Your dad's going to be here, but I need to go home and figure out where my brother is. Went home, searched for him, could not find my brother. So we put out a NIC number for him. We put him on the missing persons list. We had his face plastered through Maine. And I went back home to Texas. And I started going through unclaimed bodies, things to that nature, to see if I could find my brother. I knew in my heart that he was no longer with us. My father knew in his heart that he wasn't with us. My mom still had that hope.
Sure.
And unfortunately, April of 2009, my Aunt Lisa went outside with her dog and was walking up the street, and he broke away from the leash. And he found my brother out behind my parents' house. He was deceased. I remember my mother over the phone, I could hear her just sobbing. And my dad, telling me, your brother's not here. He's no longer with us. And I knew at that moment, I said, okay, I'm going to pack up. I'm coming home. And we drove from Texas to Maine. My brother left behind a 10-year-old son. At that time, he was 10. And I wanted to be a positive impact in his life because he lost his father so tragically. And we lost somebody so tragically. During that transition of me being back at home, my husband was still not fully recovered. My husband was still battling. And with my brother, the loss of him, me having my attention on my nephew, my husband and I separated. And I wasn't going to have it. I was like, no, I love you. You're my husband. I'm going to fight for you. And I did. I fought him quite fiercely. And he came back and we decided that we needed to work on this. We needed to get some marriage counseling involved. I needed counseling to get through what I was going through, the loss of my brother. It was quite tragic. And once we had done that and we started communicating better, things started evolving, and Matthew was more into tune with himself and able to kind of take on more of these issues that he was having. So fast forward a little bit, come 2010, my husband was offered a part in this movie that was about a veteran from Maine who just returned from Iraq, and it was dealing with all of the questions and the difference of being home. And my husband was a little reluctant on it. However, with that nice little push, I encouraged him to take lead of that because I think it'd be really good for him. And lo and behold, it was. It made an amazing difference in his life. Once that film was done and they had the premiere, my husband took a moment to speak. And when he was speaking, people were listening. And I think it was a part of therapy for him because other veterans were coming to him and saying, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for doing this film because now I'm going to go get help. And that really helped my husband by helping others. So he flourished off and started doing speaking. Sorry there. And that was really positive. However, without my knowledge, my husband was still struggling. And even though he was able to do that, he was still struggling and still had some issues with drinking that I was unaware of. So once again, I got my fight on and I said, okay, we're going to get you some treatment. You're going to go somewhere. We're going to figure this out. And luckily I did. I found a program that was amazing. My husband went in for it for 2 weeks. It was very intensive. And it helped my husband. It helped him so greatly that when he came back out, he hasn't touched a drop of alcohol. We communicate better. His faith is miraculous. I just have to say my husband's faith is huge, and that's a big part. We have a church that we attend online that really helps my husband, and they have become part of our family. With that, in 2016, my mom was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. And I took on being my mother's caregiver while caring for my husband, while working a full-time job from home, while being just enlisted as an Elizabeth Dole Fellow. I was trying to conquer the world. At least that's how I felt at that moment. I spent many hours with my mother in chemo. It was the best thing I could have done is to spend that time with her. As much as people think, oh, that's so sad. Yes, it is sad. But those are memories and times that I will cherish forever because I was the one to be able to be there with her. And I stayed with my mom until her last breath. And I mean that literally. I remember crawling into her bed, her hospital bed, and snuggling up with her and just telling her it was okay to go. And we loved her and thanked her for all the amazing years she's provided us. And she passed in 2017. Our amazing church pastor came all the way up from Pennsylvania for my mom's service. That was really touching and such a blessing to our family. Shortly after that, my father moved close to me so I could care for him. My father is a Vietnam veteran who had MS, and he had lost his eyesight about, I think it was around 2010. He had lost his eyesight due to MS. So my mom was a caregiver, which really at that time, I never really thought about it until I became an Elizabeth Dole Fellow, recognizing myself as being a caregiver. And wow, Mom, you were one too. So I started caring for my dad. Really strange. My husband went into the hospital the same time my father went into the hospital. So I'm in Washington, D.C. while my father's here in Maine in the hospital, and I'm trying to, caregive virtually while caregiving for my husband because he had massive surgery on his legs and trying to juggle everything. I remember the doctor telling me that they had found some spots in my father's lungs, on his liver, and on his bones and his back. And they were pretty sure it was cancer. And I said, okay, well, we'll do what we have to do. Whatever my dad wants to do, if he wants to fight this, we're going to fight this. If not, we will just obey his blessings, whatever he wants.
Sure.
My father didn't want to go through chemo. He saw my mom go through chemo. And he just asked me to keep his quality of life okay. And he was ready to be with Mom. If it's his time, it's his time. It was hard to swallow, but it was my dad's choice. And so my dad, he suffered for a while. And I mean, he really did. And it was very heartbreaking because he was a very strong man. I grew up to my dad being the tough guy and always to take on everything, and to see him in so much pain, it bothered me. There was a point where I couldn't lift him no more. So I had to put my dad in a nursing home. Now, I love my family. My family is a blessing to me, and they keep me going because no matter what, between my mother and my father, my aunt was always there, and my two small cousins. Now, when we talk about caregivers, caregivers come in all shapes, sizes, people, ages. My cousin Chloe was only 16, and she was help caring for my mom. She helped me care for my dad. We actually all camped out in my dad's room in the nursing home. I had a recliner with my little cousin. My husband had a pulled out couch. My other cousin was sleeping in a chair. We were all together, and we were able to give his last few weeks his family. He was never alone. And he passed. And when that happened, I really battled a lot, with thinking, oh my goodness, why is this always happening? He's like one thing after another, and it never stops. And it took me a little bit, but then I started seeing the blessings behind it, the happiness behind it of I was able to be there. That's a positive. Yes. I was able to hold their hand into this journey, and I had my family. So I had to look and see those silver linings, but there was a silver lining. And today, as hard as it is, I still feel that there was positivity between everything.
Marjorie, you certainly have had your share of losses. I mean, that's an understatement. You've had an avalanche of losses. But what I'm hearing from you as well is that you're sharing your story, but you're sharing your story from a place of power. You've released the negativity around the story, the experience, and you're sharing from a place of power. You're really seeing the blessings in everything that has manifested in your life, and how your experience can empower and motivate and inspire others. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And that was my whole reason for writing my book, was I wanted to be able to touch a community, not just my community, but all communities. You can go through so much tragedy, but in the end, there is still light. There is still positivity, and you can learn from it. I believe everything that we go through shapes us into the individuals we are. And if we can empower others and provide them with that inspiration, even at your darkest times, to have that glim of faith and hope, there is still good in this world, and you can make it past it.
What would you say, in your experience, is one of the most important things that a caregiver can do for him or herself?
I would say one is self-care. Definitely take time for yourself. Don't feel selfish. You need to be able to have that time to rejuvenate, because if you don't care for you, you can't care for anybody else.
And when you say self-care, tell me explain that, because some people might
Okay.
think it's a spa day or,
Oh,
so tell me what that means. Explain.
yes, absolutely. So, in some senses, a spa day could be your self-care. However, even taking a 20-minute drive, if you love to listen to music, to
Mm-hmm.
have that time for you just to breathe, working in the garden, if that's what you like to do. If there's a hobby you like to do, maybe needlepoint, knitting, having that time for you, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It's taking that time for you to connect with yourself and to block out everything that you're doing. Block out, I have to do the dishes. I have to do this. I've got to get these appointments. I've got to be able to get this medication. You need that time for you. And it can come in any form.
And what you're doing right there is you're changing the energy, because every thought has a vibration, and that vibration is the energy in which we are surrounded. So when you are inundated with that negative energy that's just oppressive and pushing you down and just causing you to feel just the heaviness of the situation, doing something simple, like you said, going for a drive, even if it's going in the closet and shutting the door and putting some headphones on and jamming out to your favorite songs, you are changing the energy. If you live in a place where, the weather isn't good or it's too cold or something and you can't get outside, go someplace, like I said, even if it's a closet, and do the wiggle dance, like little kids do the wiggles. And it's
Yes.
important to change up your energy. It's so important to do funny, silly, crazy, wonderful things for you, and laugh. Even if you are on YouTube and you're looking for something that'll make you laugh, just type in, something that's going to make me laugh, and find your favorite
Yes.
comedian and something to change the energy. And that's what you're talking about when you say have some me time. And that's really, really
Yes.
important.
Very much so. Yes.
So
And
what else would you suggest?
I would suggest reaching out for help. I think a lot of times caregivers isolate themselves and they are so selfless. They don't want to reach out. They don't want to bother anybody because they know how it feels.
Mm.
Don't feel that way. Reach
But
out for help.
I think it's very easy for a caregiver to feel put upon
Mhm.
without realizing it, because when you're going through the day-to-day routine, and okay, this has to be done, this has to be done, and you are telling yourself, I love this person, I'm doing it selflessly because I love and care for this person. But if there are thoughts in the back of your mind that you are not allowing to surface, those thoughts, again, every thought has an energy attached to it. Those thoughts are going to sabotage how you are showing up every single day. And you may not even realize it, but you may be sliding into resentment and feeling
Yes.
like, why am I here? Why is this? This is my life now. This is what I've got to do.
Mhm.
And so it's so important to pay attention to your thoughts, pay attention to your energy. And if you're not realizing that you're sliding back, just simply saying, okay, it's 10 o'clock for the next 10 minutes. This is when I do my wiggle stuff, or listen to my music, or I don't know, throw dishes down the cellar steps or something, because,
Right.
you just got to have that something that's changing your energy. It's so important.
Yes, it is. And having somebody to vent to that's a great example. For support, to reach out to somebody, have that person that you're connected with where you could just purge,
Yeah.
because sometimes you do have to get it off your chest. And
Mhm.
once you get it off your chest, that
Yes.
relief is there.
Yes.
And I think it is very important, because you don't want to go through this negatively. You don't want to resent the person that you're caring for. You want to be able to still have that passion there. And
Right.
it's hard. It is hard because everything's on your shoulders.
Mhm.
You've got to manage everything.
And it's important that you vent and talk to someone, but pay attention to the pattern there. Are you
Yeah.
finding that you're venting all the time? Because
Yes.
that's another sign that you're not taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So what are some other things like, first of all, I have to say, can you share a little bit about the Elizabeth Dole Foundation and um, the, the Heroes
Yeah,
organization? Because I know when you and I first talked, I have shared those with some family members, and you've blessed several members of my family just by sharing that information with me. And I'd love to be able to talk more about that right now.
absolutely. So I will tell you, let me start off with how the Elizabeth Dole Foundation started.
Sure.
So Senator Elizabeth Dole and Senator Bob Dole were at Walter Reed. Senator Dole was caring for Bob, and she recognized what caregivers were going through, sleeping on cots, kind of being isolated, no one really listening. So, of course, in true fashion, Senator Elizabeth Dole created the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. And she started out with the fellowship, which I'm a part of. And as I was saying in the beginning, my job, our job as fellows, is to increase support for military veteran caregivers like ourselves, advocate on a level, whether it's national or regional, advise the foundation on programs, and provide inspiration and personal support to other caregivers. And then, as she started going, she started developing with her team different programs. And one of those programs is the Hidden Heroes community. Now, what that is, it is a community to support military and veteran caregivers. We have a private group online that is managed. You're able to find positiveness. You're able to find great information when it comes to benefits, respite care, which is so important, and have that support, that one-on-one support. Also, with the Hidden Heroes, you have a list of resources that are available to you, and these resources are amazing. The other thing, I think is really unique about the Hidden Heroes community is that we are all caregivers, all of us, and we're here to support one another and to do that piece of advocacy and get the outside community involved, to have them pay attention that we are here. I'm your neighbor. You don't know who's next door. You see a veteran and you might just think, oh, it's a veteran. Well, you don't know. It could be a caregiver there too, because we are hidden. Not a lot of people talk about it. And we work 24/7. And thank goodness Senator Elizabeth Dole brought this to light, because now we have a voice. We deserve this voice. And I believe we all deserve to be recognized, because we provide so much. And I think another unique part of this is the advocacy part, because when we go to the Hill in DC, we're advocating, for every caregiver. There's 5.5 million, oh my goodness, tongue-tied there, caregivers across the country.
That we know of, that we know.
Right, exactly. And, it's amazing that we're able to go up there and we're able to advocate for whether it's a bill or whether it's increased care or involving, that caregiver in the care of the veteran, because that's so important. They're the ones who are with him 24/7. And to make those changes, it's just, I can't even describe the feeling that it is to know that the next generation of caregivers that are come behind myself are going to be well taken care of. They're going to be heard, and they're going to have it set out for them. They're going to know where their resources are. They're going to know where to turn. And that's huge, because a lot of caregivers don't even identify. They can't even self-identify. And I think one of the major things is, if you're providing medication, managing appointments, helping with showers, there's so many different levels. And I think, getting the word out so these caregivers can self-identify and then reach out for that support, their whole lives are going to change. And I would highly encourage anyone, whether you're a military veteran caregiver or you want to support caregivers, check out hiddenheroes.org. You will find a slew of information, and you will find all of these resources that I'm talking about. There are tons of them on there, and they can benefit your life so greatly.
Yeah, we've been scouring that website since you shared it with us. And interestingly enough, I had no idea that it existed. And and this is why these types of conversations are so important. It's so important for us to share our story, and wherever we are on the journey, let people know when we speak out about something that most people think, oh, I have to keep it to myself, or I'm dealing with it, or I'm handling it, or nobody wants to hear about this. You know, what you're essentially saying to the universe is that you don't matter, that you're not important. And that's the energy that you're putting yourself in. And doing the work that I do, I can tell you it's paramount for you to start having a vocabulary with yourself, a discussion with yourself, and saying, you know what, I do matter. And I am doing a freaking awesome job at this. So
That's
let me
right.
see who I can reach out to. And
That's
even
right.
there's a great group on Facebook as well that we've connected with. And I mean, the resources are there. So if you are watching this and you're feeling kind of down, or just like, oh man, the world has got me by the tail and I don't know what to do, start with this. Everything is possible. Everything is possible. And just keep saying that to yourself. And then as you feel your energy start to rise and the vibration within you, you know, there's just a little glimmer of hope, maybe like this little pinprick of light. And you say, okay, and then keep up that mantra. Everything is possible. And when you really start to listen to that, I mean, put it on Post-it notes, put it all over your house. Everything is possible. That means everything,
Yeah.
everything. And so whatever it is that you're looking for, help, guidance, someone to talk to, an answer, it is possible. And
Yes.
now when you're opening up that kind of vibration, you're giving the universe the opportunity to bring you the people, places, names, conditions, resources, finances that you need to fill that void.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
It's so, so important. So talk about your book, please, because this is amazing. It's amazing.
So, I don't know how to explain this. I guess my very first caregiver retreat. So I had neglected myself for a long time. My very first retreat was in 2017. Believe it or
I'm
not.
gonna interrupt you right there because I think that's a really important point, because you've talked about, you know, this timeline of how you've been taking care of everybody. So, you know, to be really loud and proud about that, to let people know, all right, I'm just outing myself right now and I'm
Yep.
letting you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Good job, girlfriend. Good job.
I was not taking care of myself. And finally, I went to my very first caregiver retreat, and it was amazing. I had like-minded individuals around me, people who were walking that same path I was walking. Um, and I met this speaker. Well, I actually knew her, but I actually got to actually physically see her. And she shared her story. She is a military veteran caregiver. She cares for her brother. And she shared it, and she also shared that she journaled a lot. And I had just recently lost my mom, and I was having that struggle of a lot of emotions, you know, kind of going through that. I started journaling, and I just started writing things down, writing it down. And it didn't really make a lot of sense. If you read my journal, it would not make a lot of sense, but it made sense to me. And people kept telling me, you know, you really need to share your story. Your story is just, you know, it's really amazing how you made it through this. And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a small book. I want it to be a short read, but an impactful read, and I want it to be inspirational. I want people to walk away from it and be like, if she can make it through it, and if I can make it through it, you know, I can do this. You know, that is just, you know, something I can do. So I wrote the book, and we published it May of 2019 of this year. And it's Bringing the War Home, The Life of a Military Caregiver. And it is a part of my story of being a military veteran caregiver. However, I was also a civilian caregiver. So I wanted to touch the lives of those as well that are in the other sector, that are civilian caregivers, caring for moms, dads, brothers, sisters, moms caring for children of autism, because we all share that same journey. They may be a little different, but we are all the same as a caregiver.
Yeah.
So once we released the book, I was very nervous because I was very raw, very raw. I opened myself up. There's a lot of things in there I had to talk to my husband about if it was okay to share.
Mm-hmm.
And it took him a little bit, but he was all right with it. People started reading it. And I started getting all these messages and emails of, thank you for sharing your story. I connected with you. I had organizations reach out to purchase my book to share it with other caregivers. And that's what I wanted. That right there is what I wanted. I could care less about making any money or being in the fame or spotlight. Mine was to touch lives of other people. And just by those short little messages, it really did it. It changed for me to know that I was actually getting that across. And I was inspiring people. Some people would read it and they say, oh my goodness, that's really sad. But when I got to the end, oh my goodness, you really were able to transform.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted to put out there was to, you can go through a lot of tragedy, but you can still come out on top and you can still live a positive, happy life and let those lessons or those incidents shape you into the person you are.
And I know your book is available on Amazon. Would you say the title again, just to make sure?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing the War Home, The Life of a Military Caregiver.
Excellent. By Marjorie, Marjorie, Pennington, Pennigton. So if you're looking for it on Amazon, you can look it up by her name or by the name of the book. You will find it there. I highly, highly recommend it. It's an amazing read. And so you're sharing this story, you write a book, you're out there with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, you're talking about doing all this, you're Superwoman, okay? People are going to say, oh my gosh, she's just got all this energy and, she's had these tragedies. Where do you see your life going? Like we all must, life is life forward. Where do you see yourself going? Not like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But what I mean is, how do you see your journey and your story and how you share your story? And where is this going?
Whew. So I feel that my journey is leading me to help others. I love to serve. And I believe that's my path, is to serve others. And just to make a difference. If I can make a small imprint in this world, when I'm done, I've accomplished everything. I want to bring hope and faith and joy to people's lives and let them see that, yes, you can go through this great tragedy, but you can still have a positive, impactful life. And I hope to show that caring for somebody, whether it's a mom, dad, brother, sister, it's so meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
It is just one of the greatest things that you could have a part of is to care for somebody. And as stressful as it is, and all of these, mountaintops that you're going to climb and, the downfalls too, because they are there, you can still get to the top. And what you're doing is very meaningful and you have support. And I think for me too, it's for my husband. I want him to see that, you know what, you're not a burden to me. You are what makes me thrive. I am thankful every day that I have him in my life. He's my best friend. We have plans for our future. We're now making plans for children. We're making plans for a forever home and just, developing what we can for our life. And our faith is huge. So, and I hope too to spread that you can have faith and hope no matter what.
I always say there's only 2 ways to live your life, in fear or in faith. And if you're walking in fear is what you're going to live in and attract to you. If you're walking in faith, and this has nothing to do with religion, because we can have faith in in anything. We can have faith that the world's going to come to an end. We can have faith that our life sucks. We can have faith that, nothing will ever get better. So pay attention to exactly what you have faith in. What are your thoughts? What's going through your head every day?
Right.
And I want to take a minute here to really, from my heart, talk about the caregivers who work in the nursing homes. Because as I said, my brother, he's only 56 years old, and he has amazing caregivers in the nursing home. So if you are a caregiver in the nursing home and maybe you feel like nobody appreciates you, or you go through the mundane day to day, I mean, obviously they're not your relatives, and, these are people that you don't know, and maybe, you have someone that you care for and they don't have family to come and see them. You are the energy that they are around every single day. So when you lift yourself up, when you realize that you have one of the most important jobs in the universe, and that is to share your love and light with someone who cannot do for themselves, you have an amazing calling. Never underestimate that calling. I hope that I tell the caregivers where my brother is often enough how much I love and appreciate them, because my brother is pretty much nonverbal. He doesn't know really what's going on. He sometimes will say, I'll say, what's my name? And he'll say, your name is Nancy, but I don't know that he really knows what that means. So we never really know what's in his head. But when he's around his caregivers, I see his face light up. And for me, that's all I can ask for, is to know that he's happy. The energy around him is happy, and he loves the people that he's around. You can tell. So please never underestimate what your path is and how you are impacting the lives of the people you're caring for, as well as their family, because it has a ripple effect. It's like, you throw a stone in a lake and how the ripple effect just goes out. Everything that you do matters. So when you show up to work and you're feeling grumpy, or you had a fight with your spouse or your kids or whatever, remember to not take it out on the people who can't speak for themselves, because they're counting on you. And just from my heart, I will say, I truly, truly appreciate all of the caregivers, everything that you're doing. So if someone hasn't thanked you, let this be a thank you from me, from my heart, because I truly appreciate the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. Caregivers in the nursing home, I firsthand saw it with my dad. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Hospice, oh my goodness, it takes a special heart to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank you, and I appreciate you, and I hope that you know the difference you're making in each and every life you touch.
Yes.
It may not be shown right away, but it matters. The people you care for, it's right there in their heart, and they are so thankful, and the families are too. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes we can feel so put upon, like, oh my gosh, this work just never ends. But, that's kind of like motherhood too, right? The work never ends. You get up and you clean it, and then the kids mess it up, and then you clean it again. So that's life. Stuff never ends. And, but that's why it's important to know your energy, know your thoughts. And if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not paying attention to the thoughts that you think and the energy that it brings and what you're attracting into your life, then you really want to pay attention to, are you blaming a person, place, or experience on where you think you are? Because life is either going to teach us something, show us something, or give us something. And it's up to us to decide how we accept that and how we move through it. And so every single day we have the opportunity, once again, to say, everything is possible. Everything is possible. And your energy, what you bring to your daily existence, is going to determine how you go throughout the day. And how you go throughout the day, energy, think about it. It has a ripple effect. It touches everyone. That person that you're crabby to at the checkout stand or nice to at the checkout stand. You know, how you speak to your kids. Do you send them off yelling at them, or do you send them off telling them to have a good day? Everything starts with you individually. And as well as, you know, when you are caring for others, it's about you. Take care of yourself. Know that you matter and you're here for
Absolutely.
a reason. Marjorie, I am just over the moon excited to have you in my life, to share this time with you, have this conversation with you, to help you share your message. Hopefully, you know, people will share this video. If you found anything of interest or help or support, please click the link and subscribe to this channel, because that's why I'm having these video conversations with people. The universe just keeps bringing me amazing people who are doing amazing things. And just like if you're feeling down and you go to YouTube because you want to find something to make you laugh, it's my hope that these video conversations will be a place where someone can say, you know what, I have a question about X. Hey, I wonder if Nancy has finally talked to someone and has a video that's going to answer these questions. So the more that we share, the more that we get into it, remember, everything is a ripple effect. And if you feel called, subscribe, share it with someone. Because as Marjorie said, you might have a veteran living next door, but you don't know what they're going through. We have no idea what people are going through on a daily basis, but we're so quick to judge. If we could be just as quick to say, hey, I wonder how I can be of help or support, or say a kind word, or, you know, a comment that is loving. It goes so much farther than judgment and judging your neighbor. And it's really important. So if you feel like, you know what, I don't even know who might benefit from this conversation on this video, but you know what, I'm just going to share it on social media, and just trust that the universe is going to get it where it needs to be. Trust. Remember, I said you either walk in fear or you walk in faith. And that's how you want to ask yourself every single day. How am I going to walk my walk today? In fear or in faith? And it makes all the difference. And when you're feeling down and you're feeling like you just can't take one more step, just stop and tell yourself, everything is possible. Everything is possible. And if you don't believe it, just say, Nancy said everything is possible. Because I promise you, whatever your story is at the moment, when you are able to release the negative feelings and emotions attached to that story, you will then be able to share your story from a place of power instead of victim and vengeance mode. And when you can share your story from a place of empowerment, you empower others. Because when you let your light shine, you help others shine their light, and it comes back at you, and your light shines brighter and brighter and brighter. Just look at Marjorie. Look at the bright light shining behind her. I mean, hello, it's wonderful. You know, it's just absolutely fabulous. Marjorie, do you have anything that you'd like to add or talk about?
So I would like to thank you for having me on here, and I'm so glad our, paths have crossed, and we're now, building this friendship too, because I look forward to, watching future videos and spreading positivity. And I thank you for doing that, because we don't have enough of that in the world, and we need it. I want to just put a shout out to everybody that if you are struggling and you are a caregiver, whether you are or not, reach out. It's okay to ask for help. And like you said, you can either walk in fear or walk in faith. And I highly suggest you walk in faith.
Absolutely. And reaching out, sometimes people might think, oh, if I reach out, that means I need help. Help means I'm weak. Oh, no, I don't want anyone to think I'm weak. Remember what I said at the beginning of this video, that our words can get us all mixed up. So stop talking. Stop thinking about the words and just go with the vibration, the feeling, the energy. How are you feeling? And if you feel like you need some assistance, reach out. Give yourself permission to say, you know what? This is what I'm going to do for myself today. I'm going to go check out that website that Marjorie talked about. I'm going to buy Marjorie's book. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to read about or be immersed in the story of others who have triumphed and are now out there sharing positivity with others. And that will lift your mood, lift your vibration, lift your spirits.
Absolutely.
Marjorie, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate you, your mission, and everything that you're doing, and for the energy that you're putting out to the universe. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. And likewise, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And remember, for all of you watching, life is all about choices. So get out there and think about the choices that you're making, and ask yourself and tell yourself and remind yourself everything is possible. This is Nancy Mueller saying ciao for now.